Hey, everybody, welcome to the fourth episode of Foreigners Talk American, the fantastic podcast where I, a lone American, will discuss something interesting about my country's culture to a group of my best foreign friends. With me today is a very diverse group. From New Zealand, we got Jonathan.
Yo.
From Ireland, we got Gary.
Well, how are things?
From South Korea, we got Andrew.
안녕.
And also from South Korea, we got Beth.
안녕하세요.
Hey, Gary, does well hurtings mean hello in Gaelic, or like what does that mean?
I'm saying well, how are things? But the way I say it in my local dialect is well, how are things? So it's just very, very quickly saying it, and the fact that I don't pronounce DH doesn't help.
Oh, okay, I thought you were speaking Irish or Gaelic for a second.
No, in Irish it's like Conasatatu or Diagwit.
Okay, so thanks for everybody for being here. How's everyone's quarantine going so far? It's about week 6 for me personally.
Week 6 for me too, and I've started growing plants, which is slow progress. And I had my first virtual brunch, which was quite good.
Did you all have to make the same meal and then eat together?
No, it was a competition and I won. So stuffed mushrooms.
How would there be a competition? No one could taste your cuisine. It could taste like complete crap.
Based on visuality, obviously. So this virtual world is all based on your visual and how well you can take that Instagram photo of your brunch. So I won.
Well, that's good to know, Gary. Did you put any of the plants that you grew into your omelet or whatever you made for brunch?
No, they haven't actually come out of the soil yet. They're still very much seed level planting.
Can you reveal what you're growing, or is that going to incriminate you?
No. Everything is perfectly legal here. But no, it's.
Well, you do live in Canada, which is a very liberal, liberal country.
Yep, true.
Would what you're growing would be legal in South Korea or China?
I assume so. Carrots, I'm not sure how well they translate, and zucchini. So and sunflowers. So we'll see.
Well, it's good to know that your quarantine is going pretty well, Gary.
I'll keep you updated.
All right, thank you, Gary. So let's get into today's topic. We're going to be talking about American pop music today. And I guess I can give a little rundown of what pop music was like during my lifetime. I'm a guy in my late 20s. So when I was a kid, it was a lot of Britney Spears, a lot of NSYNC, a lot of these boy band bubblegum pop kind of music that Disney promotes. And then we got into like a little bit more specific genres. In high school, you would hear a little bit more R&B, some emo bands. My Chemical Romance was pretty popular when I was in high school. And around the time I met my friends here in college, a lot of fun dance music became popular. You would hear Bruno Mars, Katy Perry, stuff like that, stuff that you can dance to. And now music has gotten to a point where I'm not really familiar with what pop music is anymore. I think a lot of it is SoundCloud rappers that become famous, or people that get an online presence first, and then they make their way into the mainstream. Not necessarily through radio anymore, because radio more or less might not be used as much, but you can listen to them on Spotify or on YouTube or whatnot. Jonathan, you're younger than me. What do you think about pop music now?
Oh, thanks.
You're the young person in this group.
Thanks for that awfully nice compliment. Although by the number of strands of hair that I lose every day, I don't know if I can be classified as young anymore. Honestly, man, I think it's pretty much the same as what you just said. I'm on the same wavelength as you, bro. Like the way we grew up. It's just kind of as if it's been American since day one. Boy bands, and then the emo punk bands, right? And then R&B as well. And now I'm equally lost as you, bro. I don't even want pop this anymore now. Rubbish gets shared, gets famous on YouTube, and then sort of just has a lot of auto-tune, I think, in it now. Seems anyways.
So why do you think that's the trend of new musicians? Because you hardly see. Like I was talking about this to a coworker before, and I can't name a new band, like a band with like members that play instruments anymore, since like Imagine Dragons might have been the last one, but they were around when I was in college. Why do you think it's more individualistic now for popular music?
You might be heading on a more philosophical question there, right? On maybe that sort of affecting people prioritizing their own success in terms of achieving success more on their own before collaborating. I don't know if that's a valid point to even sort of discuss this. But it's also probably because it's maybe easier to go out on your own now with all the, the marketing, I guess, sorted by social media, right? Once you kind of just have your music up there and people start, getting hooked on it, sharing it, you just be good. So in that case, I guess you can kind of have a good shot at it becoming, successful independently. I'm not sure, and that's kind of just my hypothesis, right? But in terms of
So what I think is like a lot of bands that we grew up on, they became famous because they performed in, let's say, a small venue, small club, and then a record producer saw them, thought their sound was great, they performed live well, and then they signed them. Let's say this is how, I don't know, the Strokes got signed or something like that. But now I think record producers don't really go out to venues to find live musicians. I think they just go on YouTube and see someone's mixtape or something like that.
Yeah, I think Mr. Justin Bieber pretty much legitimized this process, right?
Justin Bieber started a trend. It's all his fault. Gary, what do you think about American pop music?
What do I think about American pop music? It's very commercial. So there just seems to be a slight disconnect between the authenticity of like an artist and versus kind of this what will sell, and that seems to be what drives popular, at least in the 2000s or late 2010s. That seems to be more of a thing, although I'm rediscovering it all now through TikTok and listening to what is the popular song of the moment through my quarantine rediscovery of TikTok and how that's shaping the charts at the moment, just the addiction of certain songs that have dances, and possibly that's the future of driving what is popular in the US and in Ireland.
So you're finding new music through 6-second TikTok clips, essentially, right?
They have a minute as well, so it's a
I'm
range.
Vine.
Yeah, you're thinking
that
Vine.
Shows how old I am.
TikTok's the future.
So how does popular music become popular in, let's say, Ireland or the rest of Europe? Gary, is it very financially driven like in America, where they just try to find the artist that's most marketable, or do you see more of the artists with talent getting popular in Europe?
I think it's mixed. I think it depends on the genre, but popular music is probably slightly more commercial, and radio is still very important. So the success of radio and the quantity of people that listen to radio really makes a difference as to the popularity. So once songs start going on the radio, people get to know it, because most people still listen to live radio quite a lot in Ireland. Eurovision is another means of us getting song. Ireland used to be the most successful Eurovision Eurovision participant, and so some of the songs are coming through that as well, and that's where our popular TV shows, such as the equivalent of American Idol and stuff like that, was all geared towards Eurovision and selecting our act to go there, and we got a lot of recent stars from that. But in the 90s it was all boy bands, Westlife, Boyzone, all these kind of old school bands that were very much part of Ireland, and then before that it was U2 and other bands. So it's different scales, and all of them were kind of selected by, I suppose in particular for the Boyzone and Westlife, they were selected by the music producers and were created to be popular.
Would you say that the Irish invented boy bands?
I wouldn't go that far. I think the UK would probably have an argument.
Are they the first country with boys?
Not sure.
That makes no sense.
No.
But I guess either anyone could take this question, but is there a preference for American music in your radio stations or whatever makes music popular in your countries? Jonathan, you can take this if you want.
I think let's let the Koreans take this one.
Okay, is American music popular in a country that does not speak much English?
In Korea, I remember listening to when I was in the middle school, I studied English by writing down lyrics of the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Wow, really?
Britney Spears. Yeah, that's one of the effective way to study English.
So your first English words were "I want it that way."
No, it's like oops, I did it again. Yeah. Oh, what's the name? What's the meaning of the oops?
What's the Korean equivalent of "oops, I did it again"? Can you give me that?
Korean what?
The Korean equivalent of "oops, I did it again." What's the Korean phrase for that?
That? How would you say that?
Oh, it's very hard to translate. It might be very misleading, so it could be just my personal opinion. But 아이쿠 또 했네? 뭐 약간 그런 아이쿠. Oops is 아이쿠 or 아이고.
That's going to be a top song on K-pop in like a week.
Oh God.
Congratulations,
us.
Beth. You're gonna win a lot of royalties from that.
Oh no.
But would you say that American music is still pretty popular, Andrew, in Korea?
Yeah.
Like on the radio
definitely.
station, is it mostly Korean music, or do you get some English songs in there
Actually,
as well?
most of them are Korean music because yeah,
Because you guys
but
have your
still,
own pop music, right?
yeah, that's true. Because also a lot of teenagers are teenagers. I think the main fan is for
Demographic, yeah.
yeah, because they really love to listen to music and they became really fan of some band, or they became easily fan of some popular singers, right? And they're
Mhm.
much more into it, and they're like hundreds of idols and boy bands and girl bands in Korea. So I think when you look at the chart, how to say music chart, top 100 or something, and most of them are Korean music, but still there are still some popular pop music in the middle. For example, nowadays I would say, because I've been like to listen to pop songs, so I'm really familiar with Maroon 5 or who else. Like, so if I check the top 100 chart in Korea, we say the Dua Lipa and
Dua
Mari,
Lipa.
Dua Lipa, and Billie Eilish, those guys.
Eilish, yeah.
Yeah,
Sam Smith, and those guys are still popular in Korea. But
that's
yeah,
good to know.
but people do not understand the lyrics actually, but we just like
I mean, I don't
the music,
understand
the
the lyrics to Despacito, but I listened to that song probably 100,000 times.
So you think
All I understand is the word Puerto Rico in that.
So do you think
Playa
that the
de la Puerto
lyric, the melody is much more important than the lyric, right?
That's true. That's true.
That's how Korean pop
Um,
became popular as well.
Yeah, because Korean pop would you say it's the most famous pop music in Asia right now?
I would say so, yeah, because I never listened to the other Japanese song, Chinese song. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know any C-pop bands, but I know plenty of K-pop bands.
C-pop, J-pop, or like
Or Vit-pop.
yeah.
Actually, Vit-pop is
Oh.
getting pretty popular because I saw the hand-washing song for the coronavirus on John Oliver, and it made me go through a deep dive of the artist who sings the hand-washing song in Vietnamese, and he's pretty good. He's not bad. His name's Jen. Shout out, Jen. Beth, what do you think about K-pop? We brought you on the show specifically for this week because Andrew says, hey, I know this K-pop expert. And I'm like, great, we're going to do an episode on pop music. So what do you think about K-pop's popularity beyond Korea right now?
Well, first, if I explain myself a bit before I go dive into that, I'm not an expert. I'm just a
Andrew,
personal
you
great
liar.
friend. But I have a lot of but I have a lot of like serious fans around me, who are my work colleagues or just friends, personal friends, who are very much interested in this Korean pop scene. So, and myself is also one of the fandom of the currently active boy band in K-pop. So I guess I could say a bit about what's happening right now. Well, as for answering to your question, I would say it got a lot bigger than it initially was back in like mid 2000, when a lot of the entertainment companies in Korea were trying to enter the US market or the world market themselves. I know a lot of the entertainment company back then were trying very hard, like the big three of the Korean entertainment company. They were sending their very best boy bands to the US and like Japan.
This was
and
happening
Europe.
in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, and when I was
Yeah.
in college, but they
Well-
didn't really break it big. It didn't really work.
Why is that? Why
What?
why were they so unsuccessful back then? But it seems like it's more popular now.
I think they were trying to.
Was America
well, in
not
my
ready for Asian boy bands yet?
that as well, but I think they were trying too hard to make themselves into American, like trying to interpret themselves into as an American group, not as a Korean K-pop band or girl band. So what
That's
they
good
were
to know,
doing is,
yeah.
like when they were going to the US, they were releasing a song that wasn't really played in Korea. So what they made them initially popular wasn't played in the US, but they were making up songs just for the sake of the US market or other markets around the world. So
Oh, so they weren't being
I just
true to themselves. They were trying to
yeah,
do something that they're not
probably.
really meant to do.
Sellouts.
Yeah, probably.
Sellouts,
And
yes.
also, yeah. And also for the effect of the social media as well. Because, back in mid 2000, the social media wasn't that big than now. So I guess
My MySpace account says very differently, though.
yeah, MySpace,
They had a song for me.
Twitter, like YouTube, and like what else? I mean, yeah. So there weren't that many channels that entertainment companies were using to introduce themselves to the rest of the people out there. I mean, there weren't that many users to begin with, so I think the environment is very different now. I think
Mhm.
all of the people around, like the interest groups, should I call it, like the people who are listening to the music, the market, the boy bands themselves, I think they're all ready to accept each other, maybe. That's how I see it.
So K-pop has been around for how long? Like this style of very fun kind of dance music. Has it been around since American boy bands, or is it more of a 2000?
It's been around when I don't know if you know the UK boy band. Should I call it a boy band? But Wham. Do you know
Oh.
Wham by any chance?
Yeah,
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's
we know Wham.
1980s. Yeah, Last Christmas and like yeah, all those hit songs. So the Korean pop bands were around since then with the influence of the disco and like so in 1980s we had a lot of boy bands like and dance groups like Wham. So I guess that's the very much starter. But before that we had a lot of bands like bands who played guitars and drums until the
Mhm.
70s. So I think the general trend of the Korean music scene was along with the music scene's trend around the globe, like back then, like glam pop and like rock and then in the 80s, we started to see a lot of disco, and that's when we started to have a lot of dance groups in Korea.
So is K-pop actually the most popular genre of music in Korea, or is it more traditional bands or rap music, solo artists, or whatnot, or is it mainly K-pop in the top music?
I think K-pop got really big. It's a very strong consolidated genre in Korea. So you can't really say it's like the biggest because of the popularity of K-pop around the world. Our rap scene, our hip hop scene, Korean hip hop scene got a lot bigger as well, and R&B as well. So because of the popularity of K-pop, like boy bands and girl bands, a lot of the other genres in Korea got a lot of big boosts and were able to gain a lot of bigger and greater audience. So now I listen to like all these different kinds of hip hop and like K-pop but now I think there's less popularity in comparison the American pop, should I say. I think the Koreans are listening to a lot of our own songs more. Yeah,
Mhm.
in comparison to what it was like 10, 20 years ago. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what's
Backstreet
on your
Boys.
workplace, Andrew? Is it mostly K-pop, or do you have Korean bands or whatnot, like rock bands?
As we get older, it's really hard to take, the trend, it's hard to follow the trend. So I
Mhm.
keep listening to these old songs, and I
So
actually,
K-pop from
for me,
your lifetime or your early ages would be on your playlist.
oh man, it's like very long ago, G-Dragon, like
G-Dragon.
Big Bang, all of those stuffs, but those guys, but they're old. They became older than me. They're as same old as me, so I would say they become. I'm so sad watching them
So what
getting old.
happens to old K-pop stars that become your age, Andrew? They can't dance the same way, or do they become
I think they
less
change. Yeah,
famous,
they
or do they
become.
get solo artists?
Actually,
to grad school.
most of them. Yeah,
They go to K-pop
that's what
grad
I'm
school.
trying. Actually, there are a lot of. That's about that. There are a lot of the entertainment company which teaches those applicants to those students who want to be like a star, and they teach them from the beginning dance,
Mhm.
how the way they act, how to say it, see how to sing, and also they're teaching Chinese to them because China market is the one of the biggest one in the world. And I think most of the old K-pop stars changed into the how to say the teacher, no trainer,
Teachers.
Trainers.
like
Yeah.
yeah, to become.
So they're like the
to-
coaches. They're like athletes that become coaches after they.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a very strange demo there. How do they even choose K-pop stars? Because I heard that like it is kind of like an athlete where you find someone young and then you groom them into being in your boy band, your girl band. Is that more or less true?
Yeah. That used to be the trend a lot. And the majority of the trainees are trained like that. So like entertainment companies, they would have like a seasonal recruitment of auditions, whether in Korea or in America or different parts of the world. So they would pick and choose people to train them to be the bands, the K-pop bands. But these days, like in the last 2-3 years, they collaborated with the Korean media, like the TV channels. So they would have like there was a program called Produce 101. I'm sure some of you guys might have heard. So the TV channel collaborated with like some numbers of entertainment companies to have their own trainees to come in and compete amongst themselves. The people who would vote for the trainees would be the audience, the people who are watching the TV. So every episode, some people would be dropped out of the race. So it's kind of like a
Like American Idol,
yes, something like that. But
or like The
pool of
Apprentice,
the people-
or
yeah,
musicians.
exactly, yeah.
But
And-
there are
and they
101
would-
people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they
101.
would be chosen like handful of people to finally debut as a group, and they would be working for like 5 years under that name, and they would end their contract. So something like that happened for 2-3 years now. Yeah, it was really
K-pop
big.
contracts is something that just fascinates me, because Andrew and I discussed this before, but like if you're a K-pop star, you're actually not legally allowed to date other people because you want to keep your image squeaky clean, right? You don't want the public to know that you're dating someone. You think
Right.
that's tough for these kids that are like, they're probably like in their early 20s, the prime of their attractiveness,
Yeah,
and
probably.
they can't go out on dates,
Yeah.
or they're probably doing it in secret, right?
I would say the latter, probably. I mean, it's a civil contract, so we don't know what's the general thing that they would put on their contract. So some of them might go really harsh and say you cannot date for 8 years or something, but we
You have to
wouldn't know.
change your
It's
hair
not a
color
limit.
twice a year.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to like be in this weight or this height or whatever, like this body size for
This
this many
height, how's that
years.
even possible? Like, you have to get
If you're growing, if you're in your late teen, I guess that's one of the preconditions you might have.
you're not allowed to grow past 6'3". How's that even possible?
Yeah, I'm sure they're doing everything all they can to like, maybe dating secretly, but it's their personal choice. So even if I'm one of the fandom, I would say like as long as that it makes them happy, I would say go for it, but just don't get caught. Don't get caught in camera or in TV.
I'm sorry for hogging all this time on K-pop. Jonathan or Gary, do you want to ask any K-pop questions while we're still on this?
No, that's the thing. I actually have one question. So I understand like the whole concept of boy and girl bands, right? I mean, I can probably even say I'm still a fan of those kind of bands, right? But one thing that I just could never quite understand, right, when it comes to K-pop bands, it's just a sheer number. Like, how do people rally around a group of like not 5 but 7, 8, 10, 12 people? And how do first of all, how do the bands like actually like split up number of like seconds or minutes that each one gets, right? And then like how do the fans just sort of, I don't know, actually like the whole concept of this huge band?
The prettiest one obviously sings the most, and then like the others are just like background. It's like NSYNC, how like Justin Timberlake. How many BTS members can you name, Jonathan? Because I only can name one.
Another one that just speaks
And his name
on
is
behalf
Jin.
of everyone. Oh, really? That's a guy that I thought probably wouldn't make it that far as far as looks, isn't it? Is that the ugly rapper? Sorry, shit, no. Yeah, the two rappers, right?
You're gonna angry the Jin fans on our show.
Yeah, I just
Man,
lost
be
you, right?
careful. Yeah, you gotta name all of them right now. Or you're gonna
I
be-
know.
I mean, all
You're
of
There's
gonna
them.
be
Jin,
top
there's
10,
Michael,
I am.
there's
I am.
Samwell.
So,
Are you making that up?
Well,
Is that actually real?
no, BTS fan will be feel very
There's
offense right
Size
now.
in there somewhere, right?
Sorry
Oh, and
guys,
yeah.
they're old.
Oh.
They're old guys. They don't care. They don't know.
Okay.
Was Psy originally in a boy band, or did he just become famous on his own?
He's just on his own. Yeah,
Okay,
he's been on his own for a very long time. Yeah.
but yeah. So
Like
going
20
to
years.
Jonathan's question, how do they distribute the the FaceTime for a
Yeah,
band
and
that
more
size.
importantly, how do Koreans actually feel about the sort of number of bands? Like, do they prefer bigger, smaller bands? Like, what's the consensus there, if there's one?
I don't think there hasn't been any poll saying like how many would you prefer in a boy band.
Okay.
I mean, as soon as they debut, like whoever new guys coming along, I think they just get adjusted to it. Like, cause I don't know if you know a boy band called Super Junior. They debuted like in mid 2010s, and they had like 9, 11. I mean, the figure was like crazy. Like, I couldn't imagine them fitting in one stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people got adjusted to it. Yeah, the more they got exposure, they just got adjusted to it. Yeah. And
But
some
for a
people
band
just
like Super
try.
Junior, is there like one guy that's clearly the leader, or are they all equally pretty famous?
They're almost similar in their like popularity. It's quite even. I think they initially had one leader, but in their active period, some people left the band, so just the number got smaller. And yeah,
Gee whiz.
yeah.
But
Probably.
that
but
happened.
for a band that size, like when someone leaves, like is everyone that sad because there's 8
I'm
other
sure
members
there
to the
is.
guy?
There were a lot of like media coverage when the people left the band, like why they left and like what are
Right.
they doing, like and all that. But I'm sure they have each and every one of them have their fans, so they might be very sad. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. Like a K-pop fan, how do they choose the member of the group that they like the most? Is it by looks or like by the dance moves or?
This is also a very, I mean, you can't really generalize it.
When you
So I
were
guess
15 years old, how did you choose the member of the band that you liked the most?
that's a very, very important and very deep question that has to dive into my unconscious.
Is it something as
Um,
trivial as like hair color? Because that's why I chose my starter Pokemon, because I like the color blue.
All right.
He should be handsome.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
but
all
I
more or
think
less
it's the-
handsome, right?
Yeah. I think I chose we call it 최애, CHAE. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like 최고로 애정하는. It's like the most loving, like the one that you love the most. 최애.
Mhm.
It's an up and coming slang. So if you can say this word to any walking Korean right now, they would understand. But if when I chose my 최애, I guess I saw the singing ability the most, and whether they can dance, because all of them are quite good looking. So it's not like the yardstick to use. And if they
What
have
if-
a
what-
certain
what-
characteristic,
What if there's just some less handsome guy who's singing well? Then
uh,
they sing well.
well,
we
well, what
choose him.
happens is that what happened to a lot of my friends when I talk about like how they got to love or like the band was they just pick the very first chair and then they start to like the band, so they listen to all their songs and albums and watch their YouTube clips of like, because what happens in Korea is like they shoot when they shoot the upload the video of the performance, they have a separate version of the same performance, only zooming one in each members of that performance.
There's a POV shot for each member.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if let's say there's a BTS performance, then one is uploaded as like showing all the members as in one stage, but then they would have separate clips of showing each and individual doing the dance moves.
Really?
So you get to love
Shit, I
like
don't know
every
that.
single one of them. Yeah. That's how
Wow.
they got to love all the different characteristics of the group. So they love the band as a whole, even though they might be slightly less good looking. Like you get to see all the characteristics. So yeah.
So Americans probably don't have that much knowledge about Korea besides K-pop bands right now. That's probably the biggest pop culture element from Korea that's seen in America. Would you say that's what most Korean men look like, or are they just very beautiful and that's not really a
Yeah,
standard?
look at
and
me, man.
also is
Yeah.
If you look at Andrew, that's what
Yeah.
Korean men are like.
I try not to look at Andrew as much as I can.
Why do you
Yeah,
look disappointed,
well-
Beth, when you just said that? Like,
But so
well,
are
I
like
mean,
Korean men trying to look like these K-pop artists, and this goes for
Nah.
women as well. And is this what the beauty
Nah.
standard is in Korea?
No. No.
No.
I think it used to be like that. It used to be like because you know how culture grows and develops. So in the early stage, a lot of people were trying to like dress up like them and like look like them and like have a similar like makeup like them. But now I think we're in the stage where the audience, the general public and the groups and the culture themselves are somewhat separated. So I think they know each other, that they're distinct entities. So where like general public would not be just like swarmed into, oh, I want to look like them or I want to be like them or something like that. I think they just kind of understand them as a separate culture. So you won't be like when you walk down the street, there won't be people like dressing up like them as a whole.
So
No.
that's not the
I
beauty
think they just-
standard. Is there some other
No.
beauty standard for Korea? Because like, so what I would imagine is that you
Mhm.
create a band and you want to make it
Mhm.
as marketable as possible. So you try to give it an image that's very appealing to everybody. So that's why I found it
That is true.
surprising that you don't think that's the actual beauty standard in Korea.
I think it affects the beauty standard of Korea to a certain extent, but not up to the point that everybody wants to look like them. Because the thing is, we have so many boy bands and girl bands that they have a very different idea and image of themselves. So not every Korean boy band would look exactly like them. So for example, like if you look at 2PM, it's one of the boy bands. They're all very tall, very muscular, very, how should I put it, like very
Masculine.
manly. Yes, masculine. But when you
2
look at,
p.m. You say?
I don't, yeah, 2 p.m.
Okay.
Oh, that's one image that the one boy band would portray. But there's like other boy groups that wouldn't portray themselves as masculine, but very slim and like kind of like very
Yeah. So everyone has their
fragile.
preference,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
so
exactly.
you can make a boy band that will appeal to one group, maybe not another group.
Yeah.
It sounds like Jonathan, you would definitely join 2 p.m. because you're a very
So I'm looking
masculine
at 2 p.m.
boy
right now, anyways, and to be honest, like I can't tell much of a difference. Oh, I see. Okay, I see some skin.
A lot of skin.
They
Do they look like rugby players? Like, what do they look like?
they don't. They actually look just like your next Korean pop band, to be honest to me. But I'm just uncultured. Sorry, so I can't tell the difference as much. Yeah, they just look as plastic and beautiful.
Well, they're toned. I mean, they're on
Yeah,
TV, so
Okay, right.
yeah.
Andrew, who's the most beautiful K-pop star?
Oh,
Beautiful means like same to pretty.
Yeah, you don't have to answer that. I know you're dating someone.
Yeah, but seriously, I don't see any difference between those girl idols.
So the stereotype is that they all have plastic surgery,
Look similar.
right? And then like the surgeon
Not-
tries to make them look the same. Is that true? Or am I
not
just
all of
making that
them,
up right now?
but like you said before, that there's some certain type of beauty that people like in common, right? So I think the entertainers hire those guys or those girls who fits that standard of beauty
Mhm.
mostly. It's
Mhm.
true that there are a lot of different types of preference, but there's basically there's a bottom line that people like this type of face, eyes, shape. I
Shape,
think
yeah.
that's why most of them became look similar, which I don't think is a good idea when it comes considering the diversities. Yeah.
So
that's-
is K-pop like the audience? Is it everybody or is it mainly young people? Because okay, so I was watching a K-pop live video the other day, and then like the audience can sing along, and it was all male voices, which like really freaked me out because I would assume that it was all like it was a girl K-pop band. But
Yeah,
is the audience just everybody, or is it kind of creepy guys? So like, what's the audience?
It's
for K-pop?
becoming everybody, but mainly
Mhm.
those are young people like to listen and follow the songs or the
Mhm.
stuff because or even around my age, my friends do not know any recent pop
Mm.
idols. So yeah, but I like to watching and listen to them, but I'm not the fan of them. I still personally prefer listen to the pop the American pop music or the UK pop or those. So preference differs from people to people. So
Mhm.
yeah,
But it can go
when it
to
comes
any age. Like it's not just young people like in K-pop. But it seems like it's the whole age demographic. Anyone can really listen to it.
Mhm.
Gary, do you have any questions about K-pop?
Not particularly. It's not
All
something
right, let's
that's
do our
really.
next
It's
20
not.
minutes on Irish pop.
Well, I can do that,
Well,
but I would say it's not. So it's growing in popularity in the US, but from an Irish perspective, this is not really true. We don't really have many songs that aren't in English. The popularity of songs that are not in English
Also,
is quite
Irish
poor.
people hate Asians as well, right?
This is definitely not factually true. But
well,
But diversity in
what is the
Ireland is less than most places in the world. We're a nation of people who left rather than people coming to our country. So,
So do you have a
do
preference
you
for
do
American
you
music in
listen
Ireland?
to the Irish music then? What kind of music do you listen usually?
we listen
You
to
means
quite a lot of
you or
Irish music or American music. So there's a big Irish country scene. So a lot of American country comes to Ireland quite strongly. But in general, it's either American pop or it's Irish or British pop that we would listen
So
to.
country music is listened to outside of America and is listened to in Ireland, like Luke Bryan kind of
It's
I
in
love my
particular-
truck and I love my guns kind of music.
Maybe not so much that side of the country, but more the kind of like rural countryside, not the more modern pop country, more the kind of Dolly Parton era
Oh, okay.
esque, all that
Gotcha.
kind of side of country music. The more modern country music is not so popular, but we do have a lot of country music stars that come to Ireland.
I just had the image of a bunch of adorable Irish rednecks. And that just makes me smile. Jonathan, is American music is really popular in New Zealand, right? Because I can't name any New Zealand artist besides Fly the Conchords, which is not really like regular music.
I mean, we had Lord hit it first, big time, winning 2 Grammys and stuff when she just came out with her debut album. But you're right, I mean, it's still after all a small market, small country. So, but yeah, having said that, yeah, American music is always, and it's funny because for just off of what Beth and Andrew were talking about, on how this false image of people actually, and Koreans actually aspiring to want to portray them to look like them, that being not as true. It's interesting because then I think about how we grew up anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the States, right, isn't that sort of what dictates image and appearance, how people should
Yeah,
aspire
I
to?
wanted to look like the guy from Nickelback for a
Yeah,
long
right.
time. No, but like I think in the States it's more about movie stars than musicians.
Okay.
I think that's the
Right.
more general beauty standard. But in Korea, is it more musicians than movie stars, or the beautiful people, or are they like even?
I think it's a combination of everybody. How they dress, I think in terms of like what you wanna it up and coming trend of like fashion. I think the actresses affects and actors affects a lot, like hairstyle and
Okay.
all that. Especially if in your like 20s or 30s, actors and actresses would affect you a lot more than idols, I think. But if you're in your teens, boy bands and girlfriends would probably rule everything in terms of like what you want to buy, how you want to dress, how you want to act, probably.
And they get their influence
Mhm.
from the famous people.
Yeah. So just because somebody just wear a certain backpack or something like that, brand would go like sold out immediately.
Gary, were you ever influenced by a musician on how to dress? I know like goth was a big thing, but I don't think you were like part of that scene. But like, were you ever like influenced by musicians on your style?
Not on style. I suppose music videos for me growing up weren't particularly a big thing, and so I wasn't really looking. You were listening to music, you weren't watching music, and I suppose that's kind of the difference. I suppose the big thing for us was more the reality TV music programs, and seeing that. But I don't know if it influenced my style or people around me's style that much. We all had lunchboxes with pictures of people on it, if that counts.
And I'm gonna say your lunchbox had the guys from was it Westlife? What's the boy band?
Westlife.
Boyzone,
It's gotta be
Boyzone.
Westlife.
Boyzone.
Boyzone. Oh, yeah.
I was a bit earlier than Westlife, I suppose.
I live in San Francisco, and there's also a club called Boyzone. It's not what you think it is, though. Okay, so like personally for me, like my music taste was pretty much shaped when I was younger. I think like teen and early 20s, probably earlier than
Definitely,
that,
yeah.
probably teens and high school and middle school. Do you guys feel the same? Like I can't really even like name, like I was looking at the top 100 list today for America, and I probably could only name like maybe 2 out of the top 20 or whatever the first page of that I was looking at. And like one of them was Harry Styles because he was in One Direction. I just knew his name. But do you guys feel the same way? Like it's hard to discover new music at this age?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know, I got all excited when My Chemical Romance was coming back. I went on YouTube to see the first performance, and man, Broadway having that dad look, I didn't care. I dug it so much. But no, yeah, you're
Like
right.
he's got to be in
Like,
his 40s now. It
Yeah.
doesn't have the same impact.
He came back. I didn't know that.
yeah, and they were going to come to New Zealand. They were going to come in March, and then they called off because of the virus. But
They must have
Yeah,
really
but,
lost their money if they have to go back on tour.
no, but it's those bands, from the boy bands to those, you know, the classic like 4 or 5 guy or girl band, like, you know, instruments and everything, and you know, that sort of rock alternative, like punk era. That's pretty much where I've left my music taste, and also being nostalgic for everything. I think I probably would just, you know, go back to that to relive the good memories. And then after that, I don't know. I'm sure, like, you know, like Taylor Swift or whatever came up, and Katy Perry and all those. But otherwise, I think.
What's your favorite song from the last 2 years?
Anyone else
you name one,
this?
Gary, you wanna take this
last
one?
2 years?
I quite like Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, but that might be influenced by
Mm.
my new addiction to
yeah.
TikTok. So
The Weeknd's pretty good, yeah.
I think
My
Gary has
favorite song
been-
is the Korean,
Yeah.
or sorry, the Vietnamese coronavirus song.
I think Gary is
How-
the
how-
one who's also updated with the new songs with sort of TikTok, right? So
Yeah, in Korea, would you say that you're finding new music now, or do you just stick with the songs that you like when you were under 20 years old?
because I don't listen to new music anymore. If I say, if people talk about like the 8 times the hand, you know, what's the name of the song? The Corona song? Besides that kind of song that became issue, and it's very hard to catch up because there are hundreds of songs released almost every day. So, you know, it's hard to pick one and listen.
Yeah.
Because
That's
my
true.
time is limited, and I don't know, I became feel like old. I stick to the old song that I liked previously. You know, some songs.
Oh, do you go back to like the Bee Gees, Chicago and stuff?
Andrew is
How far you go?
67 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, you know,
Lionel Richie.
Queen or
I love them, honestly.
the Rolling Stones. You know, Queen, Coldplay. Those guys are in 70s, right?
Yeah.
No,
I love
60s.
Yeah, 60s. But did you know that they have a concert in Korea
Yeah, he did.
in
Yeah.
the
Queen?
in the 60s? Yeah.
Yeah. With
Queen,
Adam
wait, first of all,
Lambert.
Queen is not from the 60s. They're from the
What?
80s, right?
From
Yeah.
70s,
I mean, they're-
like
70s.
70s.
I mean, their age is like in their 60s, right?
Oh, they're old. Yeah, they're
Oh.
their age. Yeah.
Yeah. I see old grandpas, you know, playing guitar in the stage. You know.
Okay, it seems like Gary's the only person that listens to new music. What do you think about new music now, Gary?
some of it's quite commercial, and some of there's a lot of electronic music. There's a lot of auto tune. There's a lot of very similar and samey stuff, so unique and creative stuff. But maybe this is true of all current popular music. And when we look back nostalgically, we only hear the good stuff, and we only remember the good stuff. But all the rubbish that was in between and the non-unique stuff gets lost over time. So that's possibly true even now, and so that there will be unique songs like Dance Monkey, She's a Belter, or this Blinding Lights, which will stand out, but then all the rest of the songs kind of just fade away over time. So this is probably how it'll be as well. Even the songs of the noughties, there's only a few that stand out, but when you were there, you didn't think there was so many that were all the same. So I don't know if
Do you
I
think
answered your
music is
question.
in a good place though? Because it does give everyone the opportunity to show yourself out, but
think-
at the same time you get diluted because there's too many of them.
You get diluted, but I think because we focus on our interests, there's so many unique artists that you can follow, that there's the barrier of entry into making your own music is quite low at the moment. So you see a lot of creativity if you go to look for it. And so therefore, I think the world is now more diverse and there's more opportunity, and a great song will still come through. So a great song will still eventually climb up the ladder. Like the Icelandic Eurovision entry this year is now big on TikTok in Canada, and it's very confusing to me, but this is just a genuinely good song and will come true eventually. So I think that still is true, and I think there will be great songs and people have more ability to be creative in this more digital world. How else are we making a podcast?
Yep. And but like, so like music can be pretty much made by anyone now. Like you just need a computer and then some what's that drum beat sound, 808 or something, 88s or whatever it's called.
Oh,
But do you think
yeah.
this is going to be an issue for people being able to perform live now? Because I don't think there's that many great live singers anymore.
Yeah.
If you go watch the Grammy videos, all of it's pretty much lip synced, and not a lot of people can perform their music live. But is that even an issue? Because who cares anymore?
No, it is an issue, man. It should be an issue. God damn it, because people I think mistake the difference between being a good performer, right, and then actually being a good songwriter, which I think to me is the most important thing personally. And then of course being able to deliver, if you want to call it sing, sure. But some people are just say deliver. I don't think they'd be able to sing. But yeah. So of course ideally you have all that in one artist, but oftentimes not really actually. More less so now actually. You get people that are able to
Yeah, what I'm concerned
perform on
about is
stage.
that there probably is an artist that is really great at writing his own songs, and he's really great at performing live, but he gets diluted. He's not going to be found because he's not marketable anymore. What's marketable is making kids depressed or whatever pop music is right now.
Or
making them
dance
dance.
challenge. Yeah.
Just I heard in
Challenge.
America there are a lot of singer-songwriter became famous in the States. Is
I
there?
really
Because
can only
States-
think of Billie Eilish from the last 2 or 3 years that was like singer-songwriter
That's
kind of
true.
style that
Yeah.
became famous.
Then how do people get popular in the States? And how the singers? There must be good singers.
Well,
who
they're
are
not
sing.
singer-songwriter. They're like marketable. Like they'll make a catchy song, but is mainly auto-tune and it mainly has the same beat that's in every other song. And then a record company finds them and they're like, "Hey, we can sell this to Spotify or whatever. So let's put some marketing money behind them." And then that's how you get Little Pump or something, or like
Yeah.
trap music. Because
So they
it's
hire
appealing. It's
people-
appealing to young kids. Like kids like this. So like, yeah, we'll give them what they like. We don't care if it's not great for music quality.
So is it the same system in Korea? Like the big the record company hires singers and they give them songs and sell it later. Like
Yeah,
or singers
like
apply
Korea.
to the
But then
Are there,
again,
is
I
there a
think
Korean
it's yeah.
singer songwriter? Is it that's like really famous right now, like Billie Eilish equivalent? Or as a
Not
young
really.
Korean performer have to be in K-pop to be famous, essentially.
I think you initially, well, sadly, I think you initially have to be popular in order to have time to nurture to become a singer-songwriter. So initially, like, it's very hard, it's very sad to say that, but I don't think I can imagine, no, I don't think I can come up with somebody who was a very popular singer-songwriter in the beginning, and then they got, yeah.
IU.
Well, I mean, because I know okay, so there's this female singer-songwriter called IU.
How old is she?
That she's very young. No, not very young, but she's like 28 now, 29. But she debuted in her mid-teens, so like 16. So she's been active.
Is she
for like
debuted
10
as a solo artist and not a band
Solo.
member?
Yeah, always.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she debuted as a solo, but her debut album wasn't her own songs actually. So it was produced
Okay.
by her entertainment. So it was very electronic, like very dancey, bouncy songs. But I think she changed her path to become a songwriter in some point. So now she's a very competent one, but in her beginning she wasn't.
Yeah, but you know
I
what?
think it's
Even BTS made their own song. But there's a famous member who make all the songs and all the lyrics, melodies.
Oh, he actually writes
Yeah,
all the
but
songs.
Yeah, but the thing is, he only made those songs when once he got a lot popular, like had a lot of fandom. So she didn't really start as a singer-songwriter to begin with. What made them popular was the songs that was produced or made by other music composers and like producers. So now they have a time and energy to make their own songs, which is a great thing to begin with. I'm not saying that that's any bad, but it's just that it's really hard to gain a popularity initially as a singer-songwriter and debut as a singer-songwriter in Korea, because essentially an entertainment company pick and choose who you would be debuted. So yeah.
But if you become famous as a K-pop star, you have the opportunity to make your own name afterwards. So something like Justin Timberlake is the American equivalent, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, what about Europe? What about Gary? What about European? The singer became popular. How do they start like singing, or like how they are picked by record company or something?
It depends. It really just depends on what genre you're talking about and who you're talking about. But people like, we have the members of One Direction now all going independent, are quite popular at the moment, between Zayn or Niall Horan. Niall Horan's quite popular in Ireland, mainly because he's Irish. So there is that growth. And then a lot of independent bands, which are quite popular as well. We have a few famous ones, but it depends really is the answer. Uniqueness kind of sells, and then appealing to our Irish nationality often does well. So songs that are based like around the historic stuff in Ireland, or kind of trad music, is quite popular also. And just kind of unique stuff that kind of suits our culture is important too.
All right, so let's get into our final question for this show. What do you think we can do as a society to make the best musicians get the spotlight a little bit more? Is there a great solution for that, or do the record companies kind of just control everything, and we're wasting our time talking about this right now?
I think supporting
at the end
live
of the day-
music. Live music is the way to support it, and that's the way artists now make money in a more meaningful way. You don't make money from having it on Spotify or having YouTube views. It's the live concert that is the value, and if people support that, then that supports the best artists.
But how do you get famous enough to make people want to go to your live performances?
YouTube and Spotify and becoming.
Should YouTube host a live music event for new artists?
It regularly does. Like, there's regular slots for that type of thing. So
Virtual
I don't know.
Coachella?
Well, these days in this new society we're in, there's many virtual concerts. I don't know. It's hard. It's definitely hard, but you have to just kind of break through, and uniqueness and a very good song will get through eventually.
What do you think, Jonathan?
I was just going to say, at the end of the day, like, we're the ones who consume that music, right? So I don't know. It's definitely hard to tell, I guess, young people, especially those in the teens, right, to consume this, not that. But I guess, it's about, like what Gary said, sort of making it easier for what we would say good music to come to the forefront, get that sort of space, right, to be able to sift through what we call sheer like pop junk, let's say, that takes a lot of space a lot of times, right? Gets more of that popularity. So yeah, supporting live music, right, making it easier, I think, for bands to get exposure. Because of course, if you just tell them to go get your own exposure through social media, and good luck, right? Tough, to have to compete with all that. So I think it can never replace authenticity in that sense. So therefore, like, making it easier for them to get the music out, get more sort of performance time venues. I think that's probably the best bet, to be honest.
You don't like the strategy of Uber drivers just putting their own mixtapes in the car when they're driving you?
Why the hell not? They should.
If you can expand that concept to, like, maybe there's an app where, like, you get a completely random song that you never heard of, and then if you're a new artist, you make your best 3-minute song, and then you put it onto this app, and this is your chance, and then it randomly goes. I don't know. Maybe that could work.
That's good. Yeah, honestly, you should call Uber. But I also mentioned, like, the good old busking, right? Like, I think people kind of overlook that a lot. I actually had even sort of this fantasy in my mind where, like, if I could just go out there, I can't even sing anyways, but like, if you say you're a good singer, right, you believe in your art, your music, you would just perform in public venues, and if that were sort of, if people pay more attention to that, I think that it's just the most authentic way, right, to gain success, or just build on that, right? I don't know. But then again, how does busking work in other countries? I'm not sure. Like in Korea, people do that.
Are music allowed on buses? No, wait. So I have a great idea. Okay, so at the grocery store, there's music in the background, right? So what if you paid the grocery store to play your mixtape on the back, like $5 an hour, something like that?
Yeah, sounds very good. Sounds like a good
Because
idea.
you hear the same 3 songs at the grocery store every day. And
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's true. And they pay certain amount of money to those music out there, and they're playing the same song over and over again.
Yeah.
There's certain songs that encourage you to buy. That's why they play them. So
There's subliminal messages to buy more Mentos or whatever.
Stay in the store for 5 more minutes.
To listen to music.
So if anybody from Safeway is listening, you can contact me for this great idea, and we'll make it happen. I get a little bit of commission on that. But yeah, this has been a great discussion, guys. I'll give Beth the last word if you want to talk. You want to make the last statement about music, and then.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great time for a lot of the K-pop listeners out there to be in the scene right now, just because everybody's so excited and interested in being in this scene. So, just keep yourself updated and trying to listen to new songs and get yourself interested. I think being a lively general public makes this music scene a lot more richer and more interesting. So even though it might be very hard to find new songs on your own because, you don't know where to go, I think just playing new music just through like a playset that the streaming site recommends you, I think it's even a really good start to just get yourself interested in trying new things. So yeah.
Yeah, you hear that, Andrew? Stop listening to the 5 K-pop songs that you listen to.
Always, it's hard to catch. But okay, as you recommend, and there are a lot of channels, like just Gary said, YouTube or like what is it, TikTok, lots of applications that recommend me song. I try to listen to them and try to catch up the new K-pop stars and new American stars.
I mean, we're old. We don't listen to new music. We're comfortable and we're stuck in our own ways.
Come on, we gotta try.
We gotta try. So on that note, that's our show. For Gary, Jonathan, Beth, and Andrew, my name is Joseph, and thanks for listening to Foreigners Talk American.